Hey guys, this is Wandering into the Woods from the creators of Adventures with BG. I'm Jarrett, and this is Linda.
Hi, guys.
And today we're going to be talking about our most recent adventures. I went on a solo day hike in the rain.
And I will be talking to you guys about our short hike at Bull Creek Greenbelt.
So for my solo hike, I was back out at Goodwater Loop. You can check that out in episode 2. But the short of it is it's a 26-mile loop around Lake Georgetown. And definitely the highlight of my trip was stopping at Crockett Garden and Night Falls and Night Springs. So the whole point of my trip is I was going out to see if the rain that we had was going to make a whole bunch of impromptu waterfalls. So that's what I was hoping to see. As I got out...
So you were literally chasing waterfalls?
I was literally chasing waterfalls against the advice of TLC. So I got out there, and there was much more cars and people at the trailhead than I was expecting, especially since it had been raining that day, and, the semi-quarantine had already started. I also waited to go out there. I was waiting for a hard rain, so we got that, so then I scooted on out there after I packed my gear up, and I was hoping the hard rain would definitely make enough water flowing over the cliffs into Lake Georgetown, because there's quite a few tall ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was going out, I walked about 3.5 miles out, 3.5 back, but on the way out, every 10 minutes or so, I kept passing people, and a lot of them had dogs, which I was kind of surprised about.
As it was raining?
Yeah, as it was raining. I mean, it stopped raining real hard, but it was still, light raining.
Interesting.
On the way out there, about at mile 1, that's where a lot of the cool cliffs start. And so I went down and I explored that area, and there's like a little ledge where you can kind of skirt around and look around. I was able to take some cool pictures, but other than that, there was no waterfalls, unfortunately. Just a little bit of slick rock.
Do you think there would have been more had you waited more, or that's just the way it is?
I think they would definitely had to have been like significant thunderstorms, back to like floods that we had in Austin, I don't know, 4 years ago, was that when it was? 3 years ago? Yeah, that kind of rain level for that area to have waterfalls. So after that, I walked about another 2.5 miles where I ended up at Crockett Garden. So that is just where there's a natural spring there, Night Spring, and some of the previous owners planted iris and other flowers, so it's blooming and has green plants in that area.
So was it very colorful?
It wasn't super colorful. There was definitely some iris flowers, and it's green in that area, and it's not generally all the time, even when it's hot.
So this is green, different shades of green.
Yeah, and some purple.
Nice.
Yeah, but further along, I'm sure in the flower season there'll be more. And I also checked out Night Falls, which was actually flowing better than it had been in our previous adventure. There was a lot more water falling down.
Oh, neat.
I mean, not a crazy amount. It's not like you're imagining Niagara Falls or anything, but for that, there was quite a bit more water. So I spent, I don't know, probably 30 minutes just kind of exploring that area and looking at the falls and checking out the flowers before I started on my trip again. I got maybe, I don't know, a mile more when it started really thundering and lightning. And that's when I thought to myself, Linda would probably want me to turn around because of the dangers of lightning.
Yeah, I wouldn't want you to get struck by lightning.
So
I mean, at least not for another, how many, 4 or 5 years?
Okay. So I made the decision to turn around there. By that point, it was actually raining hard. So I was like, well, I'm heading back. Maybe at those cliffs, I'll actually get to see some waterfalls or maybe some of the steep rocks. On the way back, there was quite a bit of pools forming in the trail. And so one of the things that I would do is stop and smush down the dirt on the side and watch the water kind of flow out of the trail. And I would get mesmerized for a handful of minutes watching it.
Interesting. And you were not on any drugs. So
No.
This is, other than, the fact that this might be concerning, were there other people there at this point, or was it just you by yourself?
Just me. You don't enjoy watching water flow?
No, I do. I just picture somebody coming, like, staring at you, watching these little streams of water.
Yeah, no, it was raining hard and lightning and thundered, and I was the only one out on the trail at that point. And so I made it past, Night Springs again in that area, and I made it back to the cliffs at 1 mile, and there was just a tiny, couple of drops dripping off the cliffs. Nothing significant. It either had already dried up and run off by the time I got back, or just hadn't been enough rain in the area. unfortunately.
Do you feel like maybe, though, if you had like the right camera, it would have been a good moment to take some good pictures? I don't know. I always feel like right after the storm is a good moment to capture some images if you have the right equipment. I don't know that your standard cell phone camera can take those pictures.
I don't think it would have mattered. I don't know what I would have captured other than...
It's just like the droplets or, just on leaves or on frogs, things like that.
I didn't see any wildlife. There were no frogs. There were just small creeks and some wildflowers out there. And I did take some picture of the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I did take
and the
a
droplets,
picture. Yeah, I did do that. So, it wasn't a bust completely, even though I didn't see any waterfalls. But it was a very cool experience. I don't get a lot. I assume most people don't get the chance to hike in the rain very often. It's also something I try not to do because it's bad for the trails. It, kind of tears them up. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely a new experience, something that's unfamiliar. And, the flowers in the area were starting to bloom. Not in full bloom, but, there was some stuff starting to grow, and it was nice.
For sure. That sounds like a great adventure.
It was.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys about a hike that we went to as a family the following day at the Bull Creek District Park in Austin's Upper Greenbelt. It's located in northwest Austin, so not too far from where we live. There are several routes and entrances to this park.
Before you get too much into it, who's in your family?
Well, obviously we define our family a little bit different than traditional families do. It's you and me, and our two little terrier mixes, BG and Angela.
Okay.
And so all four of us went out there and explored on this day after it had rained. Surprisingly, there were a good amount of people out there, and fathers with daughters, mixed families, local groups of teenagers. Anyway, there.
Out of the couple of times I've been there, it's definitely the most small children I've seen out there.
For sure. It definitely, and I think it has to do with us being in this COVID crisis, and parents are getting more involved with their kids and taking them out into nature and such.
Even more involved than helicopter parents?
I would venture to say, yeah. Okay. Because it's such an easy way, like you don't have to actively show your kids anything. You can just say, like, you're out here exploring nature. It's a field trip. You're learning. This is science. And really, you're not doing much. It's a great way to teach without really having to actively teach. The kid can learn a lot on their own. So I think in my opinion, a lot of parents might have caught on to that. But, that's my non-expert, non-parent opinion.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, there were a lot of families out there. And we used the entrance this time on Old Spicewood Springs Road, which is the one that we recommend because the trails from this entrance take you along the creek itself.
And there's actually a couple of parking lots in that area.
Right.
There's a couple of official ones and some gravel areas. So
yeah, you just need to be careful because some of these areas can flood after rains. We have visited a few times. Part of the reason why friends and I have used other entrances is because sometimes of the flooding, it blocks the Old Spicewood Springs Road parking areas. But if you can, that's definitely the entrance we recommend using. And it's a beautiful park. You can walk along both sides of the creek there, and you get to see desert vegetation, but also small shrubbery, and obviously the creek itself. It feels very diverse for such a small area, and it's really enjoyable there. Every time I've been, I can't say that that it has felt like I'm visiting the same place. It feels like I'm visiting a different place every time I visit. And I think what made it different this time too is that it had just rained, so the water current was stronger than usual. You had animals out that you normally wouldn't see out.
You saw animals?
Yeah, I think I saw some frogs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was pretty nice.
Did you take a picture of raindrops on frogs?
No, I was having a hard time because I was trying to keep up with the UMBG while Angela was pulling me, and I did not think ahead to take my trail shoes. Instead, I took my running shoes, which are pretty slick and rainy. Along the rainy trails was not a good combination for me to take.
I don't think it would have mattered your footwear. It was slick on those rocks no matter what.
Well, maybe. And on top of that, I have poor balance issues. So I was trying to just keep up and stay in the moment so that I would try not to fall, even though I still managed to fall like twice as we were taking that hike, but they weren't major. So we kept going. And but that is something that you need to watch out for if you're going on a walk right after a rain. And it was really nice out there, and it gave us a good time to um, practice social distancing. And if you hear some snores or aggressive sighs, that's Angela in the background right now. She is trying to take a nap as we broadcast this podcast. Anyway, yeah, it was a good time for us to practice social isolation while at the same time getting to do something and get outside of the house during this COVID pandemic. And even BG and Angela had a lot of fun. They not only enjoyed all the scents and seeing people all out and about, but they also enjoyed walking through the shallow areas of the creek. I was surprised even Angela walked through some shallow areas. She's usually not a big fan of bodies of water, even though she's from South Padre Island, but whatever.
Zero fan of water.
Yeah, zero fan of water. But anyway, so, but they had such a good time just, walking through those shallow parts as well. And they really enjoyed it. And it was a great chance also to look at the bluebonnets. And I made sure to take a picture of you with the girls.
Mm-hmm. We did it in irony of all our fellow Texans who like to take bluebonnet pictures in this time of the year and complain about snakes in the bluebonnets.
Well, it certainly didn't come across as ironic, but I'm glad I got that picture of you three. Thanks for listening, and we hope we've encouraged you to wander into the woods.
Also, make sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts. You can generally find us at Adventures with BG.